In Women of the Bible, we will explore the stories of the 10 most dangerous and feared women in the Bible. Do you think the most dangerous characters in the Bible are only men? Think again. Behind thrones, seductions, and dark decisions, there were women who manipulated kings, destroyed prophets, and corrupted entire nations. Some were driven by revenge, others by unbridled ambition. And there are those who say that even today, the spirit of some of them still haunts the world. Get ready, because today you will meet the 10 most dangerous and feared women in the Bible. Women who were not just supporting characters, but protagonists in some of the darkest episodes of the Scriptures. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because here the Bible is revealed like you've never seen before. Videos like this will surprise you, challenge you, and even give you chills. In 10th place, we will learn the story of Potiphar's wife, the temptress who almost destroyed an innocent man. Joseph, son of Jacob, was sold as a slave by his own brothers and taken to Egypt. There, he stood out as a faithful servant in the house of Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh. Potiphar trusted Joseph so much that he made him the administrator of his entire household. But there was a problem. Joseph was handsome, and Potiphar's wife began to desire him. Day after day, she tried to seduce him, saying, "Lie with me." Joseph always refused, saying he could not betray his master, nor sin against God. One day, she grabbed him by his clothes. Joseph ran away, but she was left holding his cloak in her hand. Furious at being rejected, she made up a story that Joseph had tried to assault her. She showed the cloak to her husband and falsely accused Joseph. The result? Joseph was unjustly imprisoned. He spent years in jail for a crime he didn't commit. In 9th place, Delilah, the woman who brought down Israel's giant. Samson was a judge of Israel, known for his supernatural strength, a strength that came directly from God as a symbol of his vow of consecration. While he was fighting the Philistines, enemies of God's people, he fell in love with a woman named Delilah, who lived in enemy territory. But Samson's love was his downfall. The Philistine leaders approached Delilah and offered her a great reward in silver if she could discover the secret of Samson's strength. She accepted and became a traitor. Several times, she tried to get the truth out of him with charm, persistence, and emotional blackmail. Finally, Samson gave in and revealed, "If my hair is cut, I will lose my strength." Delilah waited for him to fall asleep in her lap, called a man to cut his braids, and then shouted, "The Philistines are coming, Samson." Without his strength, Samson was captured, had his eyes gouged out, and was publicly humiliated. Delilah used love as a weapon and delivered a hero into the hands of his enemies. She not only destroyed a man, but brought pain to an entire nation. In 8th place, Herodias, the woman who asked for a prophet's head. Herodias was an ambitious and unscrupulous woman. She married Herod Antipas, but there was a problem. Herodias was already the wife of his brother, which was considered adultery and a public scandal. The one who had the courage to denounce this union was John the Baptist, the prophet chosen by God. He confronted Herod and Herodias, openly saying, "It is not lawful for you to have your brother's wife." Herodias was furious. She hated John the Baptist and wanted to see him dead. But Herod was afraid. He respected John as a holy man. So Herodias came up with a cruel plan. During a banquet, her daughter Salome danced for Herod and pleased him so much that he swore to give her whatever she asked for. Guided by her mother, the young woman made a shocking request. "I want the head of John the Baptist on a platter, right now." Herod, embarrassed in front of his guests, ordered John to be beheaded. Herodias not only silenced the voice of truth, but eliminated one of the greatest prophets in the Bible. Her hatred was stronger than justice, and the head of John the Baptist became a trophy in her personal vendetta. In seventh place, Athaliah, the queen who killed her own grandchildren. Athaliah was a woman full of ambition, with no limits to achieve power. She was the daughter of Ahab and Jezebel and married to Jehoram, king of Judah, which made her queen when her son, Ahaziah, took the throne. But when Ahaziah was killed in a battle against the king of Israel, Athaliah saw an opportunity to seize power for herself. Instead of allowing the throne to be inherited by another member of the royal family, Athaliah ordered the killing of all her own grandchildren, Ahaziah's children, to ensure that there would be no one left who could challenge her. However, she didn't know that her grandson Joash, still a baby, had been hidden by his aunt Jehosheba, who rescued him and took him to the temple, where he was protected for years. Joash grew up in secret, waiting for the moment to return to the throne. When he turned 7 years old, he was proclaimed king of Judah. When Athaliah learned of the betrayal, she tried to hold on to her power, but was captured and killed by her own soldiers, bringing her tyranny to an end. Athaliah showed no mercy and killed her own family out of a thirst for power, resulting in an era of terror in Judah. Her reign is remembered as one of the cruelest in biblical history. In sixth place, Jezebel, the queen who corrupted a nation. Jezebel was the daughter of King Ethbaal, king of Sidon, and married Ahab, the king of Israel. Upon becoming queen, Jezebel brought with her the worship of Baal, a pagan deity, which soon began to spread throughout the kingdom of Israel. She used her power in a manipulative and cruel way to impose idolatry and immorality on the kingdom. Jezebel persecuted and killed God's prophets, such as the famous Elijah, who publicly challenged her. Her cruelty knew no bounds, and she was responsible for the deaths of many righteous men, while she herself remained in power, worshiping Baal. The queen also corrupted King Ahab himself, making him weaker and more submissive to her will. Jezebel manipulates Ahab at critical moments, such as in the famous story of Naboth's vineyard, where she orchestrated Naboth's murder so her husband could take his land. When the prophet Elijah proclaimed Jezebel's condemnation, the queen remained arrogant, ignoring the warning. Eventually, she was thrown from her window and killed, being devoured by dogs, thus fulfilling Elijah's prophecy. Jezebel is remembered as the woman who not only destroyed faith in God, but also corrupted an entire nation, bringing destruction and death wherever she went. In fifth place, Michal, the woman who despised the worship of God. Michal was the daughter of King Saul and the wife of King David. Her story is marked by an important episode in David's life, when he brought the Ark of the Covenant back to Jerusalem after recovering it from the Philistines. During the celebration, David danced with great enthusiasm before the Ark, praising God with all his heart. However, Michal, his wife, was watching him from the window and despised David's actions. She thought the king was behaving in an undignified manner, dancing wildly, and ridiculed him for it. Michal accused David of exposing himself in a vulgar way before the servant girls, without considering the spiritual significance of that act. David replied that he was dancing for the Lord and that this was a reason for joy and gratitude, regardless of how others saw him. However, Michal did not understand the importance of praising God and was therefore punished with barrenness, having no children until her death. Michal is remembered as the woman who despised the praise of God and clung to her worldly perspective, missing the opportunity to be part of the great move of God in her husband's life. Fourth, Lot's wife, the one who looked back. The story of Lot's wife is recorded in the book of Genesis, when God decided to destroy the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah because of the extreme wickedness of their inhabitants. Lot, Abraham's nephew, and his family were warned by angels to flee the city and not look back. God had given a clear command, do not look back. However, as they were fleeing, Lot's wife couldn't resist the temptation and looked back. The simple act of disobedience came at a deadly price. She was turned into a pillar of salt, a direct punishment from God for not trusting His word and disobeying the instruction given. Lot's wife, by looking back, symbolizes those who, even after being rescued from destruction, still have their hearts and minds tied to the past. Her glance was a sign of lack of faith and repentance, showing that they were not fully willing to leave behind the sins and temptations of their former life. The harm caused by Lot's wife was a reflection of her choice to disobey divine guidance, which resulted in her own condemnation. This episode teaches that, in order to pursue salvation, it is necessary to completely abandon the past and not look back. Thirdly, Job's wife, the voice of giving up. The story of Job is one of the best known in the Bible, and his wife, although she is not given a specific name in the scriptures, plays an important role in the narrative. She appears when Job, a righteous and God-fearing man, is suddenly struck by a series of devastating tragedies. He loses his possessions, his children, and his health, becoming covered in painful sores. Faced with all her husband's suffering, Job's wife finds herself desperate and her faith shaken. In chapter 2 of Job, after witnessing her husband's immense suffering, she says, "Are you still holding on to your integrity? Curse God and die." Job 2 verse 9. This statement reveals a moment of despair and hopelessness. She questions the continuation of Job's faith, suggesting that he curse God and give himself over to death as a way of escape. Although Job's wife was affected by pain and loss, she represents an attempt to turn away from faith in God in the midst of suffering. Her attitude contrasted with Job's response, as he continued to trust in God even without understanding the reasons behind his suffering. Secondly, Semiramis, the mother of idolatry. Semiramis, a figure shrouded in legend and mystery, is mentioned in some ancient traditions, especially in the writings of historians and extra-biblical sources. She was a queen of Babylon and is often associated with the origin of idolatry. Her story is not told directly in the Bible, but her impact is clear in how idolatry and the perversion of faith spread among ancient nations. Semiramis is traditionally described as an ambitious and manipulative woman who rose to power ruthlessly after the death of her husband, Nimrod, a ruler known for his involvement in the construction of the Tower of Babel. After Nimrod's death, Semiramis took control of the kingdom and, at some point, proclaimed herself a goddess and demanded to be worshipped. She was the founder of many pagan cults, being known as the mother of all idolaters. And first and foremost, the whore of Revelation, the woman riding the beast. The whore of Revelation, also known as the woman riding the beast, appears in the book of Revelation, chapter 17. She is a symbolic and powerful figure, described as an immoral woman, dressed in luxury, riding a scarlet beast full of blasphemous names and with 7 heads and 10 horns. She is called Babylon the Great, representing a corrupt city or empire that symbolizes apostasy, idolatry, and extreme moral corruption in the end times. The woman is drunk with the blood of the martyrs of Christ, indicating her responsibility for the persecutions and the deaths of the faithful. She seduces the nations with her lies and abominations, leading them into sin and away from God. Her reign is characterized by idolatry, and she promotes a system of spiritual oppression and false worship. In the end, the beast she was riding abandons her, and the woman is destroyed by the kings and powers of the world, representing the fall of the evil system she embodies. This destruction symbolizes God's final judgment on corruption, evil, and idolatry, showing that evil will not prevail. In summary, the whore of the apocalypse is a figure of spiritual prostitution and idolatry, who seduces nations and promotes corruption, but in the end faces God's justice, which destroys her along with her empire. These women left deep marks in the Bible. Some destroyed kingdoms, others cursed their own homes, but all of them teach us one thing: misdirected power can cause limitless destruction. Which of these stories shocked you the most? Leave a comment down below. And if you want a special video about Jezebel, Delilah, or the woman of the apocalypse, or if you want to learn about more women who haunted the past, comment, "I want part 2."